Welcome to Wheelock's Latin Chapter 15. This week we're going to be looking at numerals. Numerals. You've probably already learned Roman numerals, but we're going to go in a little bit more depth. First off, in Latin there are two different kinds of numerals. You have cardinal numbers. This comes from the Latin word cardo, cardinus, which means hinge. Or in other words, these are pivotal numbers used for counting. 1, 2, 3, etc. Cardinal numbers are 1, 2, 3. Ordinal numbers, this is from the Latin word ordo, ordinus, meaning rank or order. And these are used for indicating the order of things like first, second, third, etc. So cardinal numbers and ordinal numbers. Let's look at cardinal numbers first. All right. So let's look at cardinal numbers. With the exception of the following, just a few cardinal numbers, 1 through 100 are actually non-declinable. They are indeclinable. In other words, you don't add any endings. You don't change the form of the word. It doesn't matter if it's a nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, or ablative. It's all the same form. They are non-declinable. There are a few exceptions. In 1 through 100. Here are the exceptions. Number 1, unus aum. Unus aum. You guys got that one figured out. It means one. And in masculine, feminine, and neuter, it's got the first and second declension us aum endings. And you decline it just like you normally would a first or second declension adjective. So unus be us, e, o, e, orum, is, os, is. And of course, feminine, use the feminine endings, and neuter, use the neuter. So that's how you decline 1. 2 is duo, duai, duo. That's your masculine, feminine, neuter. And it's only plural, which makes sense because you can't have a singular, 1, 2. You can't have 1, 2. So it's only plural, and it's o, orum, obus, os, obus. And then the plural I, arum, obus, as, obus. Neuter, o, orum, obus, o, obus. So that's how you decline the number 2, only in the plural. Same thing with 3. 3 is also only plural. You have masculine and feminine, which has the exact same form. So there's no difference, no distinction between masculine and feminine. Tres, trium, tribus, tres, tribus. Now, if you remember your third declension I stem endings, s, eum, ibis, s, ibis. Well, this is basically those endings here. Tres, trium, tribus, tres, tribus. And of course, your neuter is going to be tria. Remember your third declension I stem neuter endings? Be ia, eum, ibis, ia, ibis, right? So tria, trium, tribus, tria, tribus. So that's the number 3. And again, it is only plural. Now, the other word that is declined is the word thousand. Now notice there's 2 different words here in the right columns, thousand and thousands. Thousand, no S, has a masculine, feminine, neuter, and they're all the same. And it doesn't matter if it's nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, it's all mele, 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 mele. And it's 2 L's. Notice the 2 L's there. When you have that word, it means 1,000. If, however, you only have 1 L in the word, milia, notice it's an 1 L, then this is a neuter-only form, and it means thousands. And the endings are ia, eum, ibis, ia, ibis, just like a third declension I stem neuter word in the plural. Ia, eum, ibis, ia, ibis. Melia, melium, melibis, melia, melibis. So those are the words that we actually do decline. The rest of the numbers basically are non-declinable. So these words you can kind of work on memorizing here. Let's take a look at this here. There's a little chart here that shows you the Arabic, or the numbers you're used to using, 1 through 20. And then the Roman numerals, which I'm sure you've learned long ago. The single I is 1, and that relates to una saum. 2 is 2 I's, or 2 ones, and it's duo, dua, duo. 3 I's, 3 ones, is tres, tria. 4 can be designated in Roman numerals as 4 I's or 4 ones, or a 1 and a V. So it's 4. Quator. 5 is a V, quinque. 6 is a V and an I, sex. 7 is a V and 2 I's, septem. 8 is a V and 3 I's, octo. 9 can be 5 plus 4 I's, or it can be 1 and an X. Either way, that is novem, 9. Decim is X, and it is 10. 10 decim. And you can see the rest of the words there, cardinal numbers. Undecim, so un, right, short for unus, that's 1. Decim, 10, so 10 and 1 is 11, right? Duodecim is 2 and 10. That means, of course, 12. Tridecim, 3 and 10 is 13. You get the idea. Quattor, 14. Quindecim, that's short for quinque. 16 is sedecim, that's short for sex plus decim. So 6 and 10, 16. Septem, notice the M has changed to an N here. Septendecim. And that's just the way that our lips move when we pronounce names. It's hard to say the M and the D together. Septemdecim. So it's actually septendecim, and that's 17. Now notice 18 is not 8 plus 10. It's not octodecim or octecim. This is duodecimenti. So break this down. Duo, 2. De, your preposition de means from. And wigenti, if you look down 2 rows, means 20. So 2 from 20. Well, what's 2 minus 20? That's 18. And same thing with 19. It's undewigenti. 1 from 20, which is 19. And then 20 is wigenti. So you should be familiar with each of these first 20 forms. You should know the Roman numerals as well as the cardinal number. Let's take a look at your ordinal numerals. And these are actually very easy to recognize. This is basically a vocabulary list, but you should be able to recognize these first 20 ordinal numbers. They are declined just like any other first and second declension adjective. Primus aum, first. Secundus aum, second. Tertius aum, third. Quartus aum, fourth. Quintus aum, fifth. Sextus aum, sixth. You get the idea. Septimus, octavus, nonus, decimus. Again, notice undecimus, 1 and 10 is 11, so that's 11th. Duodecimus, tertius decimus, quartus decimus, quintus decimus, sextus decimus, septimus decimus, so that's 17. Then notice 18th is duodecisimus. Okay, so wikisimus, if you notice at the bottom is 20th, so 2 from 20th is 18th. And then wikisimus, that's hard to say sometimes, that's 19th. And wikisimus is 20th. So those are your ordinal numbers, cardinal and ordinal numbers. Well, numbers are important in forming different kinds of grammatical forms. One of these involves the genitive. We're going to look at a couple here in a minute involving ablative, but this is one in which a very specific use of the genitive in coordination with a concept of number. It's called the genitive of the whole. Now, let me give you an idea here. Genitive of the whole. If you weren't going to eat a whole pie, but you only wanted a piece of a pie, that would be considered a genitive of the whole. Not a whole, but a piece of a pie, and that's a genitive of a whole. So let me explain this a little more. First off, genitive has multiple uses. You've already learned, of course, the possessive usage of the genitive case. It has other uses, but today we're going to focus on the genitive of the whole. So let's give a definition of genitive of the whole. The genitive of the whole is the genitive of a word that indicates the whole of something after a word designating a part of that whole. Now that sounds very confusing. It'll make sense here in context. Let me read that again. The genitive of the whole is the genitive of a word indicating the whole of something after a word designating a part of that whole. So let's look at an example here. Pars urbis. Pars urbis. Urbis means part of the city. So urbis is an example of a genitive of the whole. You've got the word pars, or part, which indicates a part of something, which literally it's the word part, so it means part. And then urbis is a word indicating the whole of something. So you have a whole city, but we're not going to conquer the whole city. What are we going to do? We're going to conquer a part of the city. So when you have a word like part that indicates a portion of something, followed by a word that is in the genitive, then this is a genitive of the whole. Part of the city is the proper translation here, part of the city. So when you look at the phrase part of the city, you wouldn't say that that's possessive. A lot of times we've been using the genitive as possessive, but it's not that the city is, the part is owned by the city, right? It's a portion of it. So it's not like a book of the boy. Book would be owned by the boy, and genitive is of the boy is possessive. That's not what this is. This is considered a genitive of the whole. Let's look at another couple of examples. The word Nemo means no one. No one, emikorum, of my friends. Emikorum is an adjective there. So no one of my friends. Of my friends, emikorum, of my friends, is the genitive of the whole, because it's preceded by a word that means a partial part of the whole. And Nemo is it. So it's not one, no one of my friends. Not all my friends, but no one of my friends. It's a little confusing. But those are genitives of the whole. You'll see these constructions used in our lessons this week. If you want to take a break here, feel free to take a break. But we've got 2 more uses of numbers that we'll be looking at in the next section. Feel free to take a break and pick up here in just a second. All right, so here's 2 uses of numbers specifically with the ablative case. So if we have an ablative word with a cardinal number, it's called an ablative with cardinal numbers. So remember cardinal numbers, right? Those are like your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. If you have those, right, along with a word that's in the ablative, then it's an ablative of cardinal numbers. The ablative of cardinal numbers is the use of an ablative preceded by x or de and a cardinal number. Or, doesn't have to be a cardinal number, it could also be preceded by quidam or pauci to indicate the idea of the whole. Let's see what this means practically speaking. It's pretty easy actually. Tres ex amicis meis. 3, which is the cardinal number, ex amicis, from my friends. Well, we don't translate this 3 from my friends, which is normally how you would translate ex or de, 3 from my friends. You're going to translate this 3 of my friends, because this is an ablative. Amicis is the ablative word. It's the whole. It's all of your friends, but it's not all of your friends. It's 3 of them. It's a piece of the pie. It's a portion of the pie. This is a portion of the group of friends. It's 3 of them. So the only thing you have to remember here is if you see a cardinal number, it's followed by an ablative word. And here, in this case, amicis is ablative plural. And you've got, of course, that preceded by the preposition ex or de. Then you have an ablative of cardinal number. And the only key is to translate ex as of rather than from. 3 of my friends. Let's look at 2 or 3 more examples here. We have the word quinque ex eis, the phrase quinque ex eis. 5 quinque ex eis, 5 of them. Okay, and that went away a little too quickly here, so let's look at another example here. I didn't mean for it to get going that fast. Quintum ex viris, 100 quintum, there's your cardinal number, ex viris, of the men, 100 of the men. That's your ablative of cardinal numbers. Viris is your ablative of cardinal numbers. You've got the quintum, the cardinal number in front. It's also preceded by the preposition ex, 100 of the men. All right, I think I have one more example here for you. Quidam ex eis. Quidam means a certain, okay, a certain one. And it's followed by ex, the preposition ex, and then you've got the ablative plural eis, the pronoun them. So you have a certain one of them. And so this is not all of them, it's a certain one of them. So this is ablative with cardinal numbers. Now feel free again to take a break. We got one more concept that we're going to look at. It's pretty simple, but feel free to take a break, pick back up here. The final grammar lesson this week is ablative of time when, or sometimes it's called ablative of time within which. And here is the definition. When you have an ablative, a word which is in the ablative case, which indicates time, some word that indicates time like year or month or day or hour, those kinds of things. When you have that word in the ablative case and it has no preposition, it is indicating the time in which an action has occurred. And you have to add the word at or on or in or within. You have to add this preposition when you translate it. So let's look at an example here. Eo tempore non potram id facere. All right, so tempore is a word that indicates time, right? It literally means time. And it's in the ablative singular, tempore. And so what we have to do is add an at in front of it because we recognize this is an ablative of time. So we put an at in front of it. At, and then eo is the pronoun that. It's also, it's acting as an adjective describing tempore because it's also ablative singular. So we say at that time. At that time, I guess I should be underlining these like I had intended. Eo tempore, at that time, all right, what? Poteram. Here's our verb. I was able. At that time, I was able. Oops, we got an adverb, non. At that time, I was not able. We've got our complementary infinitive facere. I was not able to do. At that time, I was not able to do it. And so the whole sentence is, at that time, I was not able to do it, or I could not do it is another way you could translate it. So tempore is your ablative of time. And you have to translate it with the preposition at or in or something like that in front of it, one of those options. Whatever makes the most sense in English. Here's another example. I think I have two more. Agricolae bonis annis valabant. Agricolae is your subject, the farmers. The farmers, what are they? Valabant. Well, it's from valao, means to be well. In this sense, we're going to translate as flourish. And this is imperfect. So the farmers flourished, but then we got honest. The farmers flourished. Well, we got the word year. Well, that is a time reference, right? It's in the ablative case, so it's an ablative of time. There's no preposition in front of it, so we have to supply a preposition. In this case, we say in. And of course, it's got the adjective bonus in front of it, so it's good years. The farmers flourished in the good years. That's an ablative of time. Okay, I think that was the last example. So I encourage you to go back and relook at this slideshow if you need help again. Make sure you study vocabulary, and we'll see you on Monday.